Hey, so, pardon me. So after doing a little work off stream, we finished the first 32 Perl effects. That's a lot, so I'm happy to take a break from here. We need the other 32 Perl effect designs to move forward anyway, so I don't mind saying 32 is good for now, and we'll do more later. And we can talk about like where this is in our development. We had these last 5 Perl effects to do, and in general, they had some similar functionality to what we had done before, so they were relatively easy to do. This one attacks cards for 3 rounds. This one allows your cards to attack twice for 3 battle cycles. This one does your cards do double damage when they attack. So it's similar. This one, well, actually, it's different though because this can attack 2 different cards. This one attacks 1 card. Anyway, this one lowers your opponent's defenses for 3 battle cycles, and this one, for the entire round, prevents your opponents from getting a luck win. It actually bounces it back to them. So, with some exception, there was ease of setup, and then all 5 of them ended up needing the prototype battle script that runs the core game, the core battle gameplay. That prototype script needed to be adjusted. So it's becoming so clear that we need to face the refactor of this script next. Like before we move on to another 32 pearls, we're gonna need to address this, because in this prototype battle script that was already pretty complex, these are literally things solely dealing with the pearl effects. In other words, the first 32 pearls needed at least 6 different new adjustments to this core battle script. And this thing was already messy. This thing needed a refactor. It's been hard to adjust this, but also it's becoming clear that these both need a refactor. Now, this script, which handles the Perl effects, needs to be coordinated better and needs to be they basically need to be coordinated better, and whether that means they are actually the part of the same script or not, I haven't made that decision yet, but refactoring is definitely in order. We've got the first 32 done, and the next 32 are blank. We don't know what they are, but that's okay. We could just say there's only 32 at this time, and we'll do more later. Again, we have an application that you can download and use to design your own pearls. It is called Perl Creator. I don't think it's gonna be a problem if I just show you. Perl Creator is available on Discord. We can just launch it and show you. This is what it does. It shows you pearls, and you're able to affect the look of it. You're able to give it a name and a description, and then give it a screenshot. This random button is helpful for getting inspiration, but the numbers here will tell me exactly how to make it look the way you want. And then your description, your name of the Perl, those will go straight into the game. I'll just implement it. You take a screenshot, this goes on your desktop, and you can post that to Discord, and that's it. Done. I want you to feel free to add Perl designs to our game. At the moment, we have functionality complete. With those 32 Perl effects done, we have a functional game. It doesn't look like anything yet. We have some sounds, but literally they are temporary, and I'm about to get rid of the sounds actually. Because, well, I want to be able to talk over this too. But there is a functional game. It will save your data to your local drive under a folder that's called Games in a Jungle. And the Shuffle Wars data is saved there. It's a single file that is saved. It's small, and it's in your local app data folder on Windows. This is functionally complete. We can play the game. Does it make a lot of sense? No. Until your people explain to you what these buttons are, like, oh, here, marching orders means what your cards will do when they have a choice of who to attack. Like, if it needs explanation, it's not a good UI or UX. And the thing is, even the stats on these cards aren't well described. Like, the fact that the images are, temporary, and I mean, just everything about it is nonsensical, to be fair. But it is functionally complete. The reason why that's a big deal is because the rules of the game are what make the game work. And our work so far has been to make the functionality come first. It's not normally the way I work, at least not doing it functional on the computer first, but to do rapid prototyping outside the game engine to ensure the rules are going to work well. Well, we found our way within the game engine, and that certainly took longer. I'm using this hobby project as a means to explore this method of working, sometimes called finding the fun, which I've always written off as amateur. But there's some value in doing this exercise and finding the pros and the cons to it. I have found some things that are beneficial to working this way. But for the most part, I'm not going to change what I do. I'm still going to do rapid prototyping. That just makes far more sense. Anyone with knowledge of design with a capital D understands that makes sense to be efficient in the ways that you find your design decisions. Anyway, this is our game, and you are free to download this version of this game right now. It's on Discord as well. And in our example, we have accounts already set up, but you would make your own. You could sign up and make your own. This would make your own account that's saved to your local machine. But we have accounts here. Well, that's interesting. There's a Perl dropper. Oh, wow, I'm finding a bug right now. That's funny. I was going to say there is a bug that we want to find and address, and it's a tricky one. It's one where a Perl has the ability to hurt the opponent cards, and it can cause a loop to continue in the prototype battle script. And it's been tricky to nail down, so I've been setting it aside. But we literally just found another one. Like, is this the cheat key that I have? Yeah, it is. It is. Like it's literally the cheat keys I use to have the opponent pearls appear for testing. You can't see it because it's actually behind the avatar, but I'm looking at a pearl that's sitting in the top left corner right now. Yeah, here. Yeah, you can see it. So, that's a bug. I mean, what I need to do is get rid of the debug keys because this is literally me using these cheat codes for testing, and I will remove them. But for now, they're actually, I shouldn't say this, but I still have all the cheat codes in place for the current version that is on Discord. You can download and play yourself. So where are we? Well, we have a game that's ready to have art and audio designed and implemented. And we've been holding off on that. This game really doesn't look like much, with the possible exception of the pearls, because again, functional complete meant that we needed to go through every bit of functionality. And believe it or not, there's some functionality going on just to display these pearls, because there are layers of pearls going on here. There is temporary everything going on in this game, but it needed to be there in order to implement functionality. Now that we're at this stage, though, we should turn our attention to what is the possibility of how this game could look. And this is more in line with game design in terms of entertainment and presentation, how we want to meet our audience. It's critically important to have our game functional, that's for sure. Like the rules of the game, which is the primary job of the game designer, the rules of the game matter to the player. So that is absolutely part of the presentation of gameplay. However, when we're trying to communicate to the player what is going on, and all we're showing them is like the same picture on every card, clearly this is falling short. We have already done a round of redesign on the cards, actually, that completely failed. I have to say that there were some great ideas that we tested out and said, oh gosh, the new ideas are terrible, actually. Instead, we'll stick with the old ones until we come back and do art. And so here we are now talking about what to do with the audio and with the art. We have some music, like that. This is part of the audio design, of course, but I've got it muted now, just so we can have a conversation. Clearly, though, these effects of the attacks need to have some sounds going on with it. The completion of a round, the completion of a match, these need to have musical stings and sound effects and all that stuff. Right now, there's only 2 pieces of audio: the background music loops and the UI button clicks. So there's lots and lots of audio to design. By the same token, there's lots and lots of art to do. These visual effects that you're seeing when there's attacks and explosions or destruction of cards, it's all temporary. And again, it's all about the functionality that needed to be there in order to display animation properly. We have a new tool, or we have a tool that can display animation, and we'll use that. But these are goofy frames that, just absolutely ridiculous. And placeholder, to be sure. They convey what needed to be conveyed while we were developing the core battle. Now that that's done, and now that we've got the rest of the functionality complete, we can come back to it and be like, okay, that was dog. Let's come back and make it look better. So that's where we are. Making things look better, and this tabletop, sure, it looks great, but what if we didn't want a tabletop? What if we actually want a battlefield and multiple battlefields to choose from? There could be more functionality down the road that we decide we need based on the art decisions we make. Likewise, we knew that once we implemented some of the sounds, we might want functionality in terms of adjusting the volume of things. We've actually implemented some of that already. So all this is to say, the core functionality of the gameplay has been proven out, but there's so much to be done just in terms of interface design. Explaining to the user what is going on would be great. Like these buttons that I'm using now to advance the battle, actually we need to decide, does this button make sense? Do battle. Like, we use it for testing. And now that testing is done, do we need it anymore? Is this part of the game? Do we want the player to actually do this? Or is there a means by which we can just advance the battle in a reasonable way? Given that there are pearls that can be dropped, maybe it really helps to have this button available to pause and have the player think about what's going on. Or do we want the action to be continuous and to keep the pace? There are decisions on user experience, UX, user experience design, which is to say, from the player's perspective, they see a presentation, they hear, they see, and they react to things that happen. They have control over things, over buttons and things they can do, and the system responds with more display of visuals and sound. On a very low level, we're talking about the way the human marries with the system. User experience design is all about this. But we are also talking about entertainment, right? So there are expectations of the user, our player, that this be entertaining, that this hold their interest. I mean, it's no coincidence that we opted for a story here. This is part of user experience, but it needed some functionality to actually prove out before we moved forward. So that's why it's here now. That said, it's just text. I mean, it's frankly a pretty goofy Mad Lib. And I don't mind it being goofy at all. I don't mind that we don't take ourselves too seriously. But the point is, now that we're talking about sound and visuals, this text can be changed, augmented, or replaced by something much more entertaining, much more visually compelling, much more in line with feature entertainment. We're talking about feature film, animation, that kind of stuff. This is interesting to be at this point where it's functionally complete and we're really just focusing on art or sound. To be fair, this finding the fun method where we are now at a functionally complete stage is unique in that we are able to now focus on those things, art and sound. In the normal way I would approach developing a game, these things would be developed at the same time, and it would help to inform functionality. And so in some ways we are losing out on some of the smarter decisions we'll have to make later. In other ways, we have really given ourselves an opportunity to focus hard on good visuals and animation, visual effects, as well as music, sound effects, and the audio design that needs to happen in order to give the player a fuller effect. This is really interesting way to work, especially as a solo indie developer, because I can focus. That is helpful. It's really helpful, actually. So there are some pros and cons to working this way, but I'll have to say it's just so unique in the way that I normally develop. This is just not how I normally do it. So where are we? We have a game you can play. You can download and play. As long as you understand what the mechanics are meant to do, like, for example, what the symbols P, D, S, H, and L mean on each card, power, defense, speed, health, luck, and how they work in battle, then you can play this game. You can take advantage of all the functionality that is there. And there's quite a lot. There's, as we've talked about before, hundreds of hours now that are laid out for you to play, which is kind of cool. And to give us feedback and talk about, as a player, what you would expect and how this crude prototype meets or falls short of expectations, how it defies expectations, and what might be good or might be improved about that. This is design, so we crave that feedback. And in the meantime, we will go forward with audio and sound design. We have some music already. That's cool. Sound effects and things I think are there are places, obvious places where sounds are appropriate. Even voice. We talked about this. Now there's that place where we have campaigns with story, right? Well, I think that's I forgot my own password. I'll do this. I need to disable that Pearl effect. The Pearl Dropper tool has a cheat on it that is making pearls appear on certain key presses. Anyway, there's an opportunity to do something with this story where we have voice. And speaking of user experience, I think it would be very helpful to convey the not taking ourselves too seriously vibe. The theme here is fantasy, over the top, dramatic for the sake of laughs kind of theme, where this story is read out. Even if, and I want to play with this idea, even if we take the Mad Lib and insert the names of things, like right in here, there's like 5 different things that are inserted into this Mad Lib story. And even if the voice is reading the words and you can tell that these words are inserted, it might help actually with the not taking ourselves too seriously vibe, while at the same time, I have a couple of voices in mind that could make this story sound, how do I say this, would give it gravitas, would give it grounding, would help to contrast the goofiness of the words that are on this story with a voice that actually makes it sound like it might be taking itself seriously. When you have a theme that is talking about not taking yourself too seriously, you can't go full silly, because that actually doesn't work. And you also can't go full serious. This has to have a balance of both. And I think I have a voice in mind that would really, a couple of voices in mind, actually, they would do really well. They're good. Anyway, the point is, we have sound that we can do and obvious places where the sound can happen. But I think our first win is going to come from developing the art, developing the art direction, leading to the art style, where we have from that this design of the cards, the design of the interface, and animation, where that visual then can inform the audio that we develop. So I think art first is the place I want to go next. And I might post a couple of images on Discord The idea is going to be something on the lines of cartoon-ish, definitely fantasy, but with a how do I say this? A compelling, mature art style that I found comes from an old painter, classic American painter. His name is Maxfield Parrish. Maxfield Parrish has done some very famous paintings you have seen before. The keys to his style include color and lighting. He has a very realistic style, but it has graphic elements that lent itself well to the time that he was painting. Maxfield Parrish in the 20s and the 1920s. That's 100 years ago. And I see this style for this game to be using that as a base and then leaning hard into a more graphic and even cartoony look. So still using the same colors, still using even the same realistic proportions to an extent, and then cartoony with the lighting and the color of Maxfield Parrish. I need to show pictures at this point, and that's what we're going to do. I have the ability to do art, and I can do the lines. I have people in mind for the color in particular, and all of this is to say, over the course of the next months, we'll develop the art, and then we'll develop the audio. And in the meantime, this has a functional quality to it where the game can actually be played. And we will implement more and more of the visuals and more of the audio to continue to get this to grow and develop in things, and to expose new functionality that needs to happen. For example, if we have different backgrounds that you can play on, instead of a tabletop, it might be a battlefield. If that's true, then, we need functionality to choose what is your battlefield surface look like, and how do you customize that or find new battlefield surfaces to use. I mean, I'm just riffing here, but the point is, there could be more functionality as well down the road, but we're going to concentrate on art and then audio, and then come back and finish up with our functionality at the end. It's fun to play this game, but I think it's a better use of our time to talk about the design and the development of the game, because really, at the end of this, we'll have a game, and that's cool. And like we said, you could play it for hundreds of hours if you were really into it. But then what, right? For me, the then what is what we learned while making this game helps us to make the next game. And this is what I've done for a very long time. This is how I like to spend my time. Obviously, this is a hobby. And it's more rewarding to encounter the challenges, overcome the challenges, take the lessons learned, and then do better the next time. I also make pretty good living out of this too. So it's not just a hobby. It is valuable to learn this stuff, whether you're interested in code or as we go forward with art direction and art design. Whatever you're interested in, please follow and help us make this game by contributing to Perl designs, contributing to feedback on the gameplay, feedback on art style or the audio design as we go forward. We have room for other people to contribute, and it's always fun to get feedback. In fact, it's necessary in the design process. So with that said, I think we're good. We'll go back into the jungle. And I think it's going to be important to acknowledge the people that are going to help us with our color, that are going to help us with our voice, potentially. I have casually asked them if they'd be interested in these kinds of things, and they have casually indicated some level of interest. The point is, I'm probably going to need to have a further discussion with them. I would never dream of asking for somebody's time, attention, and talent without compensation. So we'll have that discussion. In the meantime, you get the benefit of seeing this thing come together. And so far, we have something that you can download and play right now, which that's kind of cool. Free game, yeah. But on top of that, being able to contribute to the game, I think is, well, that's why we're here. So take care, have fun, do good. See ya.